Morning everyone. Morning. Right, so the next item is for land adjacent to Cambridge North Station. We've actually 217 bedroom hotel with ancillary ground floor retail use, floor space, landscaping, public realm improvements and space car park.
So it needs to be close to the,
It seems to be some.
it's got to be close to the postcode, it gives space to the postcode.
Thank you. Sorry.
So the location is in the northeastern edge of Cambridge, 3 kilometres from the city centre. Site lies within Cambridge Northern Fringe East. We're adjacent to the Cambridge North Station here, within the South Cambridgeshire District Council boundary and Milton Parish. See the location here, which is outlined in red for the hotel. The proposal seeks for 217 bedroom 4-star hotel with 11 accessible rooms. This will be over 6 floors. The hotel rooms will be starting at the first floor. Ground floor will have the hotel lobby, bar and restaurant with ground floor retail uses comprising of A1 and A3 uses. We also have a swimming pool, gymnasium, conference centre. The hotel will have 20 car parking spaces with 1 accessible space, and associated landscaping to go with that. The proposed building lies to the east and north of the station square, adjacent to the railway line. The hotel building will comprise of an L shape with 5-storey southern wing, which relates to the lower 3-storey station building, and 7-storey northern wing, which will relate to the office building, which we'll discuss a bit later. The location of the hotel will frame the square, station square. The design will comprise of mixed palettes of red brickwork, comprise of 2 vertical lift panels, which will highlight the staircase with light penetrating through that. The shape will be of an L shape, with the entrance to the hotel within the internal corner of the L shape. We have a subtle base, middle and top hierarchy in terms of the design, with horizontal emphasis highlighting oversized openings. The proposal brings forward a number of improvements to the landscaping in the public realm. They comprise of numerous tree planting landscaping along the west, eastern and southern elevations, particularly along the railway line. Create a high quality public realm comprising of brown and green roofs on the roof of the hotel building. And also, as you come into the station square, there'll be a green gateway with trees which highlight between the hotel and the office as you come in, the green gateway to that station. Also, adjacent to the station, there'll be a pocket park with the landscaping trees. The proposal aimed for a green excellent rating, comprising of a number of different sustainability measures, water minimisation, waste and maximisation of material efficiency. The building will comprise of good thermal properties, be airtight, will reduce solar overheating through solar control glazing, comprise of a number of renewable sources, air source heat pumps, combined heat and power, and PVs. In terms of long distance views, visual impact, proposal has been assessed in terms of views from Fenditton and surrounding areas. It won't be visible from Fenditton conservation area and have any impact on any of the listed buildings. The proposal will be viewed from one part of Ditton Meadows, but will have a limited visual impact there. There will be no long distance significant views. So it's considered that the proposal will not have any impact in terms of long distance views and heritage assets, impact on heritage assets. Being adjacent to the station, the proposal is classed as being in a highly accessible, sustainable area with a number of walking, cycling and public transport options. The proposal will be accessed along Milton Avenue as you enter into the station. The scheme has low levels of car parking with 20 car spaces, including one accessible bay. This will be sited within the surface car park that will be shared with the office building. There's 3 drop-off bays for the hotel, which is the north, sited to the north, and 20 cycle spaces, which will be for staff of the hotel and the retail use. As advised in the report on paragraph 31, there's a number of planning obligations which will be delivered through Section 106 agreements and Section 278 to reduce transport highway litigation. There won't be any conditions in regard to this because it will be stated under Section 106. There's a number of contributions towards footway links on Carley Road, Kettleton, wayfinding, signage to Cambridge North Station, financial contribution towards cycling improvements, and towards TP Plus membership, which the applicant has agreed to. I've just got a number of images now of the hotel, the design. This is the view which is looking from Station Square. This is from Milton Avenue as you approach towards Station Square. You can see the station building here, looking towards the proposed hotel. This view is the approach from the station car park, in which the hotel has a pedestrian link in the centre. Roof plans here which show the brown and green roofs.
Can you show us on that one where the pocket park is?
Yeah, so the park is just down here, which is sited in between the hotel and the station. And so you see where the mouse cursor is. We've got the L-shaped hotel building here, the central station square here, the station there. We've got a proposed drop-off point for hotel guests, car park. Over up here, you've got the station car park there.
Right, so I haven't, so it's, yes.
Just to mention about the amendment sheet. The amendment sheet's just been circulated to everybody. There are 2 versions of the amendment sheet. You'll also notice that all members should have an updated version of the conditions with track changes in as well. That's because the version on the amendment sheet didn't clearly show the changes between the ones in the report and then the revised ones. So the other section actually shows the differences. So it's not a different set of conditions, it's just showing those changes as track changes compared to the ones in the report.
Thank you. So, point of clarification.
It's a question really, and it's about the 20 space car park. Now, I'm thinking because of this city council.
Without the please make a debate.
Also, beg your pardon.
Thank you.
your public speakers.
Right, I have
Hold yours.
Matthew Danish or Roxanne de Bourne from the cycle campaign, and either of them here. I did speak to Matthew earlier, who was actually very useful.
They will want to speak on the next one.
Sorry?
They will want to speak on the next one.
Well, they're down to speed on this one as well.
Oh.
On my list, so I've just to ask them if they're okay. In that case, could I call Mike Derbyshire as the agent, please?
Here with me. And it's nice getting the clock outside. I've got my time.
I need to repeat myself. Do you have 3 minutes?
I have 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
30 seconds of the meeting.
I'll start. Thank you very much, Chair. This genuine brownfield site is being freed up for development by the forward thinking of the LPA County Council, Network Rail and my client Brookgate. The relocation of the former railway sidings and the consolidation of the existing mineral processing and transfer station freed up land for the Cambridge North Station. And that application was promoted and submitted by my client Brookgate. Without this site assembly, there would be no station as we have it today. And without a station, the development of land in this quarter of the city would have been far more challenging. It's a great example of the private and public sector working together to bring forth brownfield land and sustainable location. It is all of these councils around this table's objective to maximise the use of brownfield land, and for good reason. Development on this land restricts the amount of more environmentally sensitive land that would have to be released and reduces the amount of greenfield or even greenbelt releases elsewhere. Land is a scarce, precious resource. When coupled with the location next to the new station, the guided bus, the strategic cycle routes, the case for making the very best use of this land is utterly compelling. The station opened in May. It's a new gateway to the city. We should be proud, and the region beyond. The design purpose of this application, the office, is to define the space around the new station, to animate it and provide a safe and useful routes to travel through. Design is to some degree a subjective matter, and the advice in the framework is clear that a committee like you, and it should have expert advice to help you. In this case, you have your specialist officers who confirm the design is acceptable, and critically, you also have the views of the quality panel, an independent group created to give you design advice. They consider the design of both buildings. There's a baby outside who doesn't agree with me. It's high quality and will enhance the area. Very significant weight should be given to the views, both their officers and the quality panel's comments. Our approach to car parking is set out in the officer's report, and that is to reduce it to what is appropriate and necessary in this highly sustainable location. That is what your policy requires. This reduces the impact of the traffic on the network to a level acceptable to both Highways England and the Highway Authority. I'll briefly deal with prematurity, as the law is very clear on that. Because the area action plan is still in draft and not in the advanced stage in the planning process, little weight can be given to it, and a planning application cannot, as a matter of planning policy, to be held prejudicial to it and therefore premature. So in summary, Cambridge, the surrounding area and the region is under intense pressure for homes, jobs, and this is testament to the success of the economy and the skills of the people in the area. But it comes at a price, as more scarce land is needed for this growth, and there are impacts on all forms of infrastructure. The benefits of the hotel, much needed visitor spaces, and the hotel, and the creation of the space is compelling. Your officer's recommendation is compelling, and I commend it to you.
Thank you very much. Councillor George will be the meeting.
Thank you. I understand what you're saying there about the car parking spaces, but a 217 bedroom hotel with 20 car parking spaces, it just doesn't seem to be enough, especially when you take into consideration the staff that are going to work there as well. Now, I represent King's Hedges, which is the ward adjacent, and throughout I get representations from residents about the problem of on-street parking in the local area, and I just think as well, if you've only got 20 space car park at this facility, then that's going to adversely impact on the local area. And the same goes for East Cheshunt on Shore, which is the other ward in the area. That's all I need to say on it.
Thank you. Councillor Byrne, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I represent East Chesterton, and we have an impact of people parking from the station. I agree, 20 car parking spaces is ridiculous, we need more than that. And especially one accessible car parking bay for the hotel guests. I'm sure we've got more disabled rooms, accessible rooms, sorry, in the hotel, and one's not going to be enough. So I would like you to look at the car parking spaces to help relieve the problems that residents who live in East Chester and King's Edges.
So, Katie, 2 questions on car parking.
The proposed level of car parking is incredibly low, but that is due to the sustainable location of the site adjacent to the station, in which hotel guests will be encouraged to use sustainable methods of travel in terms of the train, cycle, pedestrian, and the good accessibility from buses, provision of guided busway. In terms of the disabled space, there is one accessible space being provided within a 20-space car park. The low levels of car parking are due to the sustainability of the site. The one accessible space will meet the policy requirement in terms of 5% of the car parking provision. It must be noted that there are also 24 blue badge spaces within the station square, which will also be able to be used for accessible disabled visitors.
Councillor Burge, you wish to come back?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, but from the station where the disabled parking is to where the hotel's going to be, that's a long way for a disabled person to push themselves if they're in a manual wheelchair or if they're on walking sticks and stuff. That's just ridiculous, it's too far.
Katie.
There is the free spaces which are for drop-offs for visitors which can be used, and there are also the 24 blue badge spaces which are within the station square, which are nearer to the hotel entrance.
Thank you. Did I see Councillor Turnford and Councillor Fountain?
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to take issue with the design. It seems to me that it's anywhere architecture of the worst kind. There's something about Cambridge and its approval of hotels. We have the Travel Lodge by the junction in Cambridge, which is widely held in disregard. There's a Premier Inn on Coldham's Lane and now the Ibis on Station Square. They are all mediocre non-entities, and this building looks more like a factory than a hotel. It should be a statement of the excitement and the innovation of Cambridge. Instead, it just disappoints completely. It's devoid of imagination, and I think it should go back to the drawing board.
The proposed design is considered to be high quality design. We underwent significant pre-app discussions. The application, the proposals were taken to the quality panel twice for consideration in terms of the design in which it was assessed. We both got urban design officer comments in which they are recommended for approval in terms of design. It's considered appropriate for the area and for the redevelopment of the area.
Thank you. Councillor Van der Vaart, I think Councillor Carpen and then Councillor Morgan.
I just wanted to make a comment about the cycle parking for guests, which is non-existent. Guests are supposed to use the sort of public parking outside the vicinity, which isn't very satisfactory overnight parking. In addition, it seems surprising that there's been no consideration given for guests who come and want to hire or borrow bicycles from the hotel. I mean, you've got a hotel in the train station, so a lot of people will come by means other than bike. I mean, obviously cycle to a hotel to stay there. But there was a lot of things within cycling distance, science bike for example, that's not sort of envisaged in these plans. I can't imagine there's any policies on this that anyone's thought of in the past, but I just want to make a point. I don't think it's enough to warrant objection.
Does George respond to that?
There's 108 cycle parking spaces within the station square, and as well there's 1,000 spaces within the station in which guests can use that. In terms of your other point, that there is no set policy in regards to that, but that's something that the hotel, whichever occupier goes in there, might potentially look to do.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Brandon.
Thank you, Chair. As Councillor Tunnicliffe has said, I think this building is too much mind the windowed faces, although they're very formulaic. But actually, what I object to is the cliff-like wall depicted at the bottom of our page 130 on the agenda, which I think is incredibly dominant, aggressive and overbearing. And I just wondered if there's any kind of treatment of that would make it less overbearing. It's just extremely ugly.
Aggressive wall.
I mean, or make it available as a climbing wall and put climbing facilities on it as a leisure activity, because that's what it looks like.
Along that wall you have got the hit and miss brick detail which breaks up that elevation. The height of the hotel has been is being proposed to enclose the station square and create a presence to that area, and it will relate to the office building.
Thank you.
I object to the principle of enclosing.
Councillor Harford. And then Councillor Greenfield.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll keep it really brief because other people have already expressed concern about the design, and quite honestly, the applicant's agent made the point that this is a new gateway to the city, and quite honestly, it's totally uninspiring.
Yes.
Councillor Blinko.
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of tone of sort of tacit criticism and disagreement with the sort of consultee views on the design and such like. There's always issues of subjectivity in terms of any design, but clearly the quality panel and the design teams seem happy with the quality that's put forward. In terms of some of the sort of wider sort of points, I mean, though it wasn't necessarily heard by the public, Councillor Bradley made a good point in our briefing earlier about the concept and the overall context of how we and the residents and the city see the area around the new station developing in the future, and whether this is the concept in terms of a design sort of statement is a debatable point. Clearly, this draws on the example of the main station regeneration, both in terms of its design components, in terms of this hotel application having 20 spaces, or the two hotels next to the main station have none. So that is obviously drawing on the clear sustainability of those two locations being next to the main station. To be fair to the applicant, they're taking an advanced sort of, I wouldn't say risk, but an advanced sort of position in terms of the overall development of the area around the the North Station. At the moment, it is not as used as people anticipated. It is underused in terms of what was originally sort of expected. If the routes change and more direct trains and other network patterns change, then clearly this may considerably change the activity levels in the area. But obviously they're taking that sort of as an advanced sort of position. I say in terms of the design, yes, it's subjective. If the materials are good, if the quality of the construction is good, flat walls make a statement, yes, and sometimes they make a very good bold statement and actually work well. I mean, buildings around the city centre, some of the new university buildings have a bold flat wall sort of approach in many respects, and they do work if they're done properly. In terms of the overall design, clearly it is still, you know, similar to the main station area. Is drawing on that, and clearly there is a view of some that the area around this North Station will be of a similar nature. Well, we'll see if that's the case or not. That's, I think, the overall master plan and other matters to be taken into account to decide upon. But this one, as a standalone application, I think there's going to be clearly a need for a hotel within the North Station area. This is next to it, therefore, is the most sustainable location. On the end of the busway and on the other routes to the main station. Be interested to see whether in the master plan down the line another application for a hotel comes forward or not, or whether it's considered as part of a master plan position. We'll see. But I think in terms of the concept of a hotel here, that's sensible. I accept Councillor Bird's point about the disabled spaces. Clearly there are 20 spaces and 5% of which is policy, and that, you know, equals obviously the one that's provided, but logically if it's a sustainable location, everybody else may be able to get there under their own steam, whereas actually disabled people may find it more appropriate and have a need of a space right next to where they want to stay. So I think maybe that could be looked at in terms of conditions and how those spaces are allocated, but clearly it is policy compliant. And we can't insist on that outside of the policy, but we would encourage a bit of thought on that. But I say, in terms of the overall concept of this case, I think it will fit into a master plan in the future. It has been discussed about before, when the North Station was first envisaged, whether a hotel would follow or whether other facilities would follow it. But I accept people have their own views on the design, but I just point out that the consultees seem happy with it.
Thank you. Councillor Richards, were you indicating?
Yeah, I think Councillor Baker's picked up my point about my concerns also about the facilities for disability that Councillor Bird
Councillor Antony.
It's just a suggestion. Would it be possible to delegate subject or approve subject to delegation to look at this particular point?
Yes. There's a completely different point that I wanted to raise as well before we finally move to the vote, and that's paragraph 29.1 on page 104. I note the adequate provisions made for fire hydrants. I'm quite surprised that we aren't asking, or the fire service aren't asking for sprinkler systems in the building this time. Bearing in mind there's evacuation problems from large buildings, there's been the news is that something that could be addressed under?
I think, Chair, yes, I think we can look at both of those points. And I think on just to add on monitoring car parking, of course the station application that we've referred to a couple of times in terms of the existing disabled bays at the station, all of that has a condition that's monitoring that parking. So I think something that wraps the hotel proposal within that, and so it has the same approach. Absolutely something we can achieve.
As I have no further speakers, so with those assurances under delegation, I'm now going to move to the vote. The recommendations for approval, all those in favour, please indicate now. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. All right, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Those against? I'm against. And any abstentions? So, thank you.
Yeah.
Could I just say, Chair, some of the members might also have picked up there are a number of typographical errors in some of the conditions, and we'll sweep those up with any other changes to the conditions under
Lunch is available, but are members happy to go around now, or do members need a break at this point?
Have lunch after, Chair, encourages people.
Could I just 2 minutes just to pop the news?